This year's State of the County focuses on our goal to make a real impact in our community, driven by our commitment to our mission, vision, and values. In our first 100 days as a board, we've been dedicated to finding new and innovative ways to support and improve the lives of our residents. We commend our staff for their hard work and dedication, contributing to our county's success. Team Mesa remains committed to providing the best possible services to our residents and businesses. So in early 2021, we began a community-wide assessment of our behavioral health system. And when I say behavioral health, I'm talking about both mental health and substance use issues. We did a survey of over 1,000 people. We held 3 focus groups to really hone down in on what the issues were. And then we had a roundtable where we brought together all the stakeholders in the community and really identified what are the key areas that have the biggest gaps that we should work on first. And interestingly, it was at both ends of the continuum. On the one end, we had people who just didn't know what they didn't know. Maybe they had a loved one who just had a diagnosis of some mental illness and they didn't know how to help them. At the other end of the continuum, we had people who were frequent utilizers of our emergency rooms and our jail. And they weren't necessarily faced with medical needs, but they had either mental health or substance use issues, and that was the only place they could go. Same with the jail. They weren't criminals, but in the crisis, in that moment when things escalated, someone got assaulted and now all of a sudden they're in jail. And that's not the right place for them. So starting with the other end of the continuum, we wanted to develop a hub where people could get the information they needed and help navigating the system. It's one thing to have a list of therapists to call, but if 3 of them call you back and 1 of them doesn't take your insurance and the other 2 don't have openings, then what do you do? So we created Grand Valley Connects, which is a navigational hub that does everything from mental health and substance use to economic stability and everything in between. And they have navigators who will really work with you to find out what you need, and as you come up against barriers, you can come back to Grand Valley Connects and they'll help you problem solve until you get the help you need. On the other end of the continuum, we felt that what was missing was this real intensive case management that could see someone every day if that's what was needed, to make sure that they took their medication, that they had shelter, that they had food, that they had the basics of what they needed. And we did this through a $400,000 grant from the state, the Office of Behavioral Health. $300,000 came from one of our partners, St. Mary's Hospital, and the sheriff put in another $300,000 as well. So with that $1 million, instead of building a new county program, we put it out to bid to other organizations that already do that type of work. And we're contracting now with 3 such organizations and plan to add a 4th. We started this in September and we're already serving about 130 clients that have been referred to us, either from one of our 3 hospitals or our jail. One of our newer projects is co-response. And as I mentioned, we don't want to start a bunch of new government programs, but in this particular situation, it made sense to develop a Mesa County clinical team. And this will be 8 therapists who will work with law enforcement, primarily as co-response, which is what is kind of a ride-along, where we have a therapist that's in the car with the sheriff deputy and they go out on calls with them. Quite a few of the calls they handle have to do with someone in a crisis situation because of mental health or substance use. And if we can intervene early on and try and de-escalate the situation before things get out of control, we can avoid having to take someone to jail. What we learned from the research is that about 70% of calls where co-response happens, where a therapist is out with the deputy and there's a mental health issue, 70% of those calls don't result in anyone going to jail. And that's good news. That's the right thing. Jail is the wrong place for folks who just have untreated mental illness. So we're still building this team this year. We have space for 8 clinicians. We've hired some of them. We're still onboarding more. And we're really looking forward to having some good outcomes to share with folks next year.
25 years ago, no one really cared about high-speed internet. Internet alone was kind of a luxury. You did the dial-up, AOL, and it was more to shoot some emails, personal emails. It really had nothing to do with business or education. But today it is far beyond a luxury. It's an absolute need. It's a basic utility these days. I mean, people need broadband just like they need water and sewer to their homes. So Mesa County has become much more active in broadband here in Mesa County the last couple of years. And COVID showed us that for business, working from home, education, or buying stuff. People need internet at their home, and not just the basic standard definition of acceptable internet, which is like 25 megabytes of download speed. We're talking about real high-speed internet where you can actually do a Zoom call with your doctor, or you can actually take classes online and have a dialogue with a professor. Or if you want, game, download videos, you name it. So today is an absolute necessity to have. So last year we undertook a process by doing a needs assessment. We have that needs assessment now, and we are going out to bid for companies to come in and help us light up Mesa County, to help Mesa County have the best internet that it can possibly have. Right down the middle of I-70, there is high-speed broadband internet. There's hundreds of strands in there. Mesa County only needs a couple of those strands to light up with high-speed broadband for everyone. So there is ample opportunity for this community to plug in now. We just got to get the lines to them. We don't want to get into the internet business or the ISP business. What we want to do is bring the main infrastructure into the community so those ISPs can run. There's a lot of money, federal money and state money, for broadband right now. Governor Polis put an executive order out last year that said he wants to get 99% of Colorado hooked up to serious broadband. And so he's making it a priority. The federal government has made it a priority. And so there is more money for broadband this year than we've ever seen in the past, and probably that we'll ever see again. We'd like to see some work begin maybe later this year or even next year. And then it's gonna be 5 years of just solid work to try to really hook this up. And broadband is hard. It's not, you don't turn on a switch and everybody has broadband. You've got to put it in the ground. It's like gas infrastructure, natural gas or electricity. It's happening now, but we're not going to see great change or great improvements probably for another year or two until we get this new fiber in the ground. It's a lot of work. So we're going to start the work now so that in a decade we can look back and say, hey, we're hooked up, we're lit up because of the people that went before us and really had that vision.
The Japanese beetle is an invasive species that can cause significant damage to our environment and local economy, which heavily relies on agriculture and agrotourism. Thankfully, concerned residents, farmers, and insect experts alerted us to the problem, and we have been taking action to eradicate the beetle before it causes severe harm. If the beetle is not dealt with properly, it will affect many economic layers in the fabric of our community, since this industry affects more than meets the eye. Ag and agrotourism bring in approximately 80 million annually. The Japanese beetle feeds on grapes, peaches, sweet corn, trees, turf grass, and ornamental plants. If it establishes and goes unchecked, it will cause severe damage to local farms and landscaped properties, and the spread of this beetle will affect everyone. Recently, our Board of County Commissioners declared the Japanese beetle a public nuisance to allow us to quickly secure the products we need to begin eradication efforts towards the end of April and May. Our immediate plan of action has been focusing on treating the infested area in the Grand Junction North area, and that is approximately 1,200 property owners from Canyon View Park to Bookcliff Country Club. The chemical which we are using is an effective reduced-risk pesticide. It's a non-toxic insecticide safer than dish soap. We can treat the area this spring with the property owner's consent. With a quick response and cooperation from property owners, we can save money and crops in the long run with safe and relatively easy remedy. If nothing is done, the beetle grubs will sadly destroy the lawns, eating the roots and leaving a brown dead lawn before foraging on to infect greater areas. For those outside of the infested area who want to be proactive, we recommend applying grub control to your lawn this spring to eliminate any Japanese beetle population before they can spread. Lawn care companies can also include grub treatments in your turf management plan. We are working with our farmers, CSU Extension, and the Colorado Department of Agriculture, along with our local partners, to develop long-term strategies for managing this invasive species. With everyone's efforts and our community working together, we can save Mesa County from the potentially catastrophic economic impacts of the Japanese beetle.